no evidence was found in connection with that case.
But still, no answer.
I want to know what happened to my daughter.
But detectives say with new DNA technology, there is hope.
Forensic science has given us miracles, uncovering names long buried and faces long forgotten. But there are still cases that breathe with unanswered questions.
9-year-old Amber Hagerman went missing. Her body was found 4 days later. Killer has never been found.
They live in the silence of missing files, in the fragments of evidence that refuse to speak. Technology may sharpen the light, but shadows remain untouched. For every solved mystery, there are families still waiting, hoping.
Her last words that I heard from her is, "Okay, Mommy, I will. I love you, Mommy."
These stories are not only about crime, but about lives paused in uncertainty. Tonight, we step into 3 such cases, 3 stories that continue to haunt 2025 with silence, sorrow, and secrets still unrevealed. Amber Hagerman, the abduction that changed America. On January 13, 1996, 9-year-old Amber Hagerman set out on her bicycle in Arlington, Texas. It was an ordinary Saturday afternoon. She and her little brother Ricky had been playing outside near their grandmother's home. The two of them often rode together, circling the quiet neighborhood streets, breathing in the kind of freedom children take for granted. Their grandmother had warned them, as she always did, not to wander far. They promised to stay close. At one point, Amber and Ricky found their way to the empty parking lot of an abandoned grocery store. It was a place kids liked because it felt wide open and safe, a spot where they could ride in circles without worrying about traffic. After some time, Ricky decided to go back home. Amber chose to stay behind, pedaling her bike in the fading afternoon light. What happened next was witnessed by only one man. His name was Jimmy Kevill, a retired machinist who lived nearby. From his yard, he saw a black pickup truck pull up. A man jumped out. He grabbed Amber, lifting her off her bike. Jimmy recalled her screams, the way she kicked and fought to get free. But the man forced her into the truck and sped away. It happened so fast that even though Jimmy called the police immediately, the abductor was gone before anyone could stop him. Minutes later, Ricky and his grandfather returned to the lot. The pink bicycle was still there, lying on its side, wheels slowly spinning. Amber was nowhere in sight.
9-year-old Amber Hagerman went missing. Arlington police say a man in a black pickup abducted her from the parking lot of an abandoned grocery store.
News of her abduction spread quickly. Police officers, volunteers, and neighbors began searching. Flyers with her face appeared on telephone poles and storefronts. Television stations carried her photo. Her family waited, hoping every moment for a miracle. 4 days later, on January 17th, the search came to a devastating end. A man walking his dog near a creek discovered Amber's body. She had been murdered, left in the shallow water less than 5 miles from where she was taken. Detectives later said the violence she endured was staggering. Her throat had been cut, and her clothes were gone. The cruelty was beyond words. The people of Arlington grieved with her family. But grief also sparked something larger. One local mother, struck by the horror of Amber's case, asked a simple question. What if the public could be alerted instantly when a child was taken? Her idea was shared with local broadcasters, and soon the Amber Alert system was born, named in memory of Amber Hagerman. The system was first launched in 1996. Over the years, it spread across the United States and then to other countries. When a child goes missing today, an alert flashes on phones, blares through radios, scrolls across digital billboards, and even interrupts TV broadcasts. According to official records, more than 1,000 children have been saved because of it. Each one of those rescues carries Amber's name, a reminder of what was lost and what was learned. But Amber's own case has never been solved. The man in the black truck was never identified. Detectives have followed thousands of leads. They've gathered DNA evidence. They've chased rumors and false tips. Yet the truth remains hidden. Even now, decades later, investigators insist the file is still active. They say the case has never gone cold because new leads continue to arrive. Amber Hagerman's legacy reshaped how the world responds to missing children. But for her family, the legacy is bittersweet. They are left with a symbol of hope for others, but no justice for their own child. Amber's bicycle was abandoned on the pavement that day. But what lingers even more is the question of who took her and why her voice was silenced so violently. Vicky Lee Lambertton, the vanishing scholar.
It's been nearly 5 decades since 24-year-old Vicky Lee Lambertton vanished from Worcester.
Vicky Lee Lamberton's life seemed to be unfolding with promise. She was only 24, studying psychology in Worcester, Massachusetts, and preparing for a future that might have led her into a doctorate program. She was bright, ambitious, and always searching for something more. Yet beneath the surface, her story carried restlessness. She had grown up in Kansas, but often told people she was from Colorado. Friends remembered how she tried to distance herself from her past, almost as though she wanted to reinvent herself. In her early 20s, she married Lee Lambertton, one of her professors, but the marriage soon fell apart. By 1974, the two were separated, though not completely detached. Vicky hinted at reconciliation one moment, then drifted towards someone else the next. That someone else was another professor, Roger Barker. People around her whispered that the two were more than colleagues. Vicky moved her belongings into his garage after leaving her brother's home. Friends saw her with Barker in public. Lel, her estranged husband, was convinced that she was romantically involved with him. In early February, Vicky told Lel she planned to take a weekend trip to Maine with a friend. She promised to call him when she returned. That call never came. When Lel checked with her friends, he learned no such trip had been planned. Confusion deepened. He then turned to Barker, hoping for answers. But Barker was vague. He claimed he barely knew Vicky and that he didn't know where she had gone. This did not match what others had seen. To make matters stranger, Barker had supposedly been away on a ski trip in Colorado around the time Vicky vanished. His wife returned to Massachusetts, but he stayed behind, ill with pneumonia. The timing raised questions that have never been resolved. For decades, there was little movement. Shockingly, Vicky was not even reported missing until 2010, 36 years later. By then, any chance of finding fresh evidence had withered away. Family members remembered her talking about disappearing, even changing her identity. She once said she wanted to live somewhere no one knew her name. Some wondered if she had chosen to leave everything behind. Yet there were hints that she may not have gone willingly. Her driver's license was never renewed. Her social security number was never used again. The truth is a void. Her family searched for answers, but time only deepened the silence. If she were alive today, she would be 75. No one knows if she chose freedom or if someone else chose it for her. Richard Culvin Cox, the cadet who walked away. Richard Cox was 21 years old when he disappeared. He had grown up in Mansfield, Ohio, served in the Army after high school, and spent time in Germany. By 1950, he was at West Point, preparing for what looked like a bright military career. He was engaged to his girlfriend, Betty, and was known for his sharp mind and discipline. Nothing suggested that he would walk away from it all. But then came January 14th. Earlier that week, someone had called the campus asking for him. The man claimed they had known each other in Germany. He told the cadet on duty to simply say George called. Not long after, a man appeared at West Point looking for Richard. He was tall, fair-haired, and wore a trench coat. Witnesses said Richard seemed glad to see him. The two shook hands and left together. Richard returned later that night, saying he had spent the evening drinking whiskey in the man's car. His roommates noticed his mood had shifted. He was tired, irritable, and at one point shouted the name Alice in the hallway before going back to sleep. No one knew who Alice was. On the afternoon of January 14th, Richard attended a basketball game. Witnesses again saw him with a man, this time described as dark-haired and rough-looking, very different from the earlier visitor. Richard left campus with him, saying he was going to dinner. He never came back. When he failed to appear for roll call, the search began. The FBI, local police, and the military all became involved. Rivers, ponds, and surrounding woods were scoured. Not a single trace of him was found. His belongings, money, and personal clothes remained untouched in his room. Theories filled the void. Some said he was recruited into intelligence work. Others thought he may have been silenced because of secrets he carried from his time in Germany. A few believed he simply vanished to escape the rigid life of the academy. Over the years, alleged sightings surfaced. A classmate claimed she saw him in Ohio days after he vanished, walking near train tracks. Another said he met Richard at a bus station years later, and that Richard was vague, almost evasive. There were even whispers of him being spotted in Florida under a new name. The FBI eventually closed the case, but large portions of their files remain redacted. Pages are missing. Questions remain. 70 years later, the cadet who walked out of West Point has never returned. His family declared him dead, but his story still feels unfinished, as though he stepped into another life we cannot see. Every case leaves behind more than evidence. It leaves silence. Families learn to live with questions that never fade. The years pass, but absence has no calendar. Amber, Vicky, Richard, 3 names carried forward by mystery. Forensic science may unlock hidden doors, yet some doors stay closed. These stories remind us that progress cannot erase every shadow. Behind each unsolved case is a family waiting, a wound that never fully heals. The unknown still walks beside us, whispering that justice is not always guaranteed. And so the silence remains, heavy, unbroken, asking us to remember.